Okay, while I'm waiting for my phones to do things and they take forever, let me make another recording. Okay, I'm going to talk about my wife. She doesn't like to be filmed when she's complaining to me about the harassment she's enduring. Because she says the harassers see me making the film and make it even worse. And I tell her, look, these harassers are breaking the law. They're bullies. You can't just give in to them. You've got to at least express yourself the way I'm doing to fight back. But she doesn't. She does not want me filming her ever almost. Now, let me say more. My wife is deaf, okay, and she's a highly intelligent woman. Okay, intelligence has nothing to do with what you learn in school. It doesn't even have anything to do with what society values as knowledge, right? That is not intelligence, okay? You learn what the boss wants you to learn. That's not intelligence, okay? In my opinion. What if the boss is some horrific dictator like Stalin? You learned everything Stalin wants you to know? You're intelligent? Well, what do you think the answer to that is? Excuse me. Who is my audience for this? Okay. I'd like to talk to you, Sayaka Bishuasi. Anybody else by the name of Sayaka? No, I don't mean that person. The person I'm talking to, her name is Sayaka Bishuasi. If that's not your name, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to one person. Apparently there are 8 billion people alive right now. One of those 8 billion, her name is Sayaka Bishuasi. That's who I'm talking to. Nobody else. I can't call her up. Well, wait a minute. Let me talk to her. I can't call you up. I can't send you an email. I can't find you in any way. And I'm not even allowed to look for you. So I can't make a video like this. And it's for you. And it goes out to the entire world of 8 billion people. If they're able to find a phone or get online somehow and see this video. Of course, when I put this video online, what do I see? 0 views. So, it's still for Sayaka Bishuasi. Now, as a graduate student, I wrote my master's thesis on Herman Melville's Moby Dick. Now, if you've read that novel, and I think I still have a copy. It survived. It was in among some clothes of mine. It's not what you call an authoritative copy, but it is a copy. Let me see. I may not have one. I thought I did, but I'm looking on my shelf and I don't see it. No. A copy of Moby Dick did not survive, apparently. What is this? No, here's a copy. This is like a... this is a copy that the general public might read at a low cost. I got this, I guess, at a used bookstore at one time or another. The pages are all yellowed from age and all. And a copy did survive. Here it is. Now, in Moby Dick, there's a character named Captain Ahab, okay? And what does he want to do? He wants to find this white whale. Okay. Now, he believes that this white whale is, well, to him, it's symbolic of all the evil in this world from Adam down. Now, if you're from a South American country, that's where you grew up, I'm sure you're familiar with the story of Adam and Eve in Christianity, even if you're not a Christian. So that's what he means when he says from Adam down, from the first man created on down, all the evil in the world is symbolized by this white whale. And he wants to kill this white whale. He's chasing after it. It's like a mad quest, right? And yet he's the captain of this ship. There's no mutiny, and people obey him, and they they eventually find the white whale and they chase after it. Now, if you're familiar with the story, the white whale sinks their ship by ramming into it, and he also destroys the boats that have been sent after him with harpooneers on board, and everybody in that quest dies except for the narrator, whose name is Ishmael. So the book starts out famously, call me Ishmael. Okay? Now, with that in mind, okay, I've got this wife, okay, who's attributing every single harassment she's enduring to a particular two people. I won't say who they are, even. But she's saying that they're all from these two people. And although these two people could be involved in these harassments, they're definitely not following me down highways, speaking scripted comments into my ears, shining directed microwaves at me from cars and satellites and so on, okay? They might be on the bad guy team, the bad guy side, but they're not responsible for all the harassments we're enduring. Nevertheless, my wife does seem to believe. It's hard for me to think that she could, but here we have a novel, okay? A famous American novel, one of the most famous novels ever written in American literature, in American literary history. This novel, Moby Dick. And it's about a man who has a distorted idea like that. There's no mutiny on the ship and everyone dies as a result, except for the narrator, Ishmael. Now, if he could have a deluded idea like that and get away with it, why can't my wife? Well, she is, isn't she? She's not considered to be crazy like me at all. She's not considered to have any kind of a mental disease, and yet this is clearly, from my point of view, a delusional idea on her part. And she's saying to me that she doesn't believe a word of what I'm saying about directed microwaves and so on. She believes none of it. All the rest of the things I mentioned, no belief in any of that. None of it's true. It's delusional on my part. None of it's happening. Well, I say to myself, okay, there are explainable reasons why she could have her particular view on the harassment she's enduring, okay? Because she comes from the Republic of South Korea, and I've read online that Korea is the most Confucian country in the world, okay? Even more so than China, right? Where Confucius is from. And for that reason, her belief that these two individuals are responsible for all the harassment she's enduring, in a way, it's true. Because these two individuals are violating what you might describe as Confucian laws of how they should be behaving in relation to me and my wife. They've broken those laws. So from that point of view, my wife is attributing all of our problems to them. And I can see that there's a believable element to what you might call her delusional way of thinking on these harassments. There is a good reason she should be thinking the way she is, because, as I say, these two individuals are in violation of what you would call Confucian laws of how they should be behaving in relation to me and my wife. Okay? So I understand my wife from that point of view. Secondly, my wife is profoundly deaf and she can't talk either. Okay? And for for this reason, since sign language is tough, okay, and my wife is not a major in English by any stretch, okay? She majored in art. So being able to express herself even as a deaf person in sign language, she's not going to be writing paragraph length explanations, even if they're in sign language, okay, about what she's thinking or doing. She just is not going to do that. So I've said to myself, faced with the immense challenges she's faced with, okay, as this deaf person who's in many ways helpless in society, okay, no one ever hired her, no matter how hard she tried to get a job and how hard I helped her try to get a job, no one would hire her. And it's almost impossible for her to make friends for a lot of reasons. I'm not going to go into all of them, but let me just say quickly that deaf people, they do not like mixed hearing deaf marriages. They don't. They don't like those kind of marriages. They don't support them at all. So you're going to make friends with deaf people? Well, it's not easy to do that. You can, but it's not easy. And here's another thing. Deaf people in America, I got to say this, man, from my experience, and I'm a lifetime member of the Gallaudet University Alumni Association, having spent a whole year as a full-time undergraduate at Gallaudet. Gallaudet is the only liberal arts university in the world for deaf people, okay? The only one. And I was a year there. And in my first semester, I made straight A's as a full-time student. Close to that in my second semester. So I did real well there. And so let me say that my experience with deaf people is, first of all, in terms of friendships, deaf people tend to develop friendships with whoever they grew up with in what are called institutions, deaf institutions. These are state-run schools, like the Maryland School for the Deaf, or the New York School for the Deaf, or the Alabama School for the Deaf, okay? They live at these places, right? And they grow up. A lot of times they can't communicate with their parents at all. Parents don't know sign language. If they have siblings, they can't communicate with them. So these other deaf people who they grow up with in these deaf institutions, they're as close as family members to them, right? And these are their friends, okay? My wife went to a deaf institution in Korea, but it's not one in the United States, and so she's excluded as a foreigner from a lot of friendships and possibilities for friendship. She is. So there's a lot going against my wife, and I say to myself, faced with the immense challenges she's met with as a deaf person, I figure when she talks the way she does, reducing her entire adversary to two individuals who, in my opinion, could not possibly be responsible even for all the harassment she's enduring. Because a lot of reasons. One is they're technologically not capable of it, probably. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are actually doing all the harassments to her on her phone that she's experiencing. They're upsetting her all day long. Maybe they are. I don't know. However, I say to myself, as this deaf person who's near helpless and faced with the communication problems she's faced with and the isolation and the rest of it, being married to somebody who's considered to be crazy, is completely isolated, marginalized, and no one wants anything to do with me. Faced with these kind of challenges, she, as a matter of expediency, reduces everything to, it's because of these two individuals, when even in her own mind, she knows that's not true. I do not know. Okay, I do not know if that's true about my wife or not. It could be, though. It could be, this is like a shorthand of hers for expressing herself in an impossible situation. She's going to say, the reason is these two. And like I said, you could trace that back to Confucianism and say, yeah, these two are in violation of laws of behavior according to Confucianism. So you could start there in blaming them for a lot of the problems that I've had and she's had once she married me. Okay, so that's my wife. Now, I could say more, but that's... You see, I am now getting hit by the microwave weapon. I don't have a cough. And as you can see, I have no protection on. There's no sheet metal here, there, or under my head and everything. And now I'm finishing this little video I'm making, right? And so the harassers are watching me in my private space somehow. I could say how, but it's going to take too much time. So they're going to let me know that they're there and I'm finished this and they're there and they're still in control and they can abuse me when they want. Okay. So they caused me to cough just then. Okay. This is what I'm dealing with. It's microcosmic harassment like that. And it's the kind where you have this woman described, I think on the Scott Paley report or somewhere else, where there's a woman going up a stairwell in the East Executive Office Building, the old Executive Office Building that's next to the White House. And she's made dizzy somehow, and she gets like a message or a phone call, and the person says to her, "We're doing this to you, and there's nothing you can do about it." Okay? Well, that's the way these harassers work. They're confident that they can't be caught and that they can do these kind of things to me and others and not get caught. So even though I'm making this video, they can say, look, here he coughs. We're not afraid that this is evidence. Nobody's going to believe a word out of my mouth what I'm saying here. They're not going to get caught. And they'll show. And Bishuasi, I gave an example where I showed on camera where you got hit in the throat with that microwave weapon. Okay? As you're starting one of your reports. I have watched every single moment you've been on camera, and you have never made that kind of mistake until then. It was when you're leaving your job there, you're working, and you like to leave in a good way, they're going to make you look like a dummy, right? So, and then you say at the beginning of your report, excuse me, I've never done that any other time. I called it, I saw immediately when it happened. So, here's my attempt to explain some of myself while I've been waiting for my phones to do things, and I see one of the phones is done doing what I was waiting for it to do. So I hope you get this message, and I hope you show up here because I cannot find you. You're going to have to come to me.